Let yourself cry. Let yourself have the big feelings. Let yourself be messy. Let yourself be the human that you are. And the more you give yourself grace, the more you're able to talk with kindness and love and compassion to yourself, the more your loved ones will benefit as well. Hi, I'm Eve Menezes Cunningham, and you're listening to the Feel Better Everyday podcast. Every Tuesday, I share trauma informed and ADHD friendly self care ideas to help you take better care of yourself and yourself with that uppercase S, that highest, wisest, truest, wildest, most joyful, brilliant, and miraculous part of yourself. This is episode 67, and the idea is that it will help you create a life you don't need to retreat from. And you can find out more about the podcast at thefeelbettereverydaypodcast.com. You can also get deeper dives by joining the Soul to Soul Circle for bonus interviews, practices, rituals, and access to a rich archive, including the entire Love Your Whole Self chakra journey. You can also find out more about the book, 365 Ways to Feel Better, Self-Care Ideas for Embodied Wellbeing. I forgot the title of my own book there. And other resources at selfcarecoaching.net. And today's episode is basically, I started this podcast thinking that there's a huge gulf between what we as self-care professionals know we want to be doing in an ideal world and what we actually do. And I thought today it's World Emoji Day, and I'm going to have you use emojis to create an emergency self-care plan for yourself for trauma and ADHD. So I have a loved one in hospital at the moment, which means that things are different to my normal life. And I've massively pared back on my normal daily self-care, but I've also really focused on it. I know that I'm no good to anyone if I'm not taking care of myself. So, especially with trauma and ADHD, we can be really good in a crisis. Like, I think on the Friday when we had to call the ambulance, it was just very, very focused. We don't have to worry about different priorities. It's just like, okay, the emergency takes all the focus. But then as things progress, there's more to navigate, and we get more and more tired potentially if we're not taking good care of ourselves. So there are always going to be things that are out of your control, but I want you to think about how you navigate uncertainty and how you navigate emergencies and what you can do, whether you're dealing with a tough time now or whether you want to put something in place as an emergency self-care kit. It's really important. I really noticed like my executive functions, things like paying for the hospital parking ticket and putting it in the specific pocket in my bag so that I wouldn't lose it, and of course losing it. And then I couldn't even turn the steering wheel on the car. I couldn't get the key in the car. And I even wondered, is this my car? Because it had been so full on. Had I accidentally got into someone else's car? No, I'd locked the steering wheel, but I'd never done that before. So it's just having lots of extra patience with yourself when you're dealing with it. So I'm skipping ahead a bit because it's really about you thinking about what you want to have in place for any emergencies that you might think of. And it's not like you have to think, I'm not encouraging you to ruminate or catastrophize or anything like that. Just thinking. I've been asking all my guests, what is your ideal self-care, your ideal daily practices and weekly, and what would be your essentials? So if you're ill, if you're traveling, if there's some sort of emergency. So for the feel better parts, it's very much about regulation. It's very much about the active self-care. So I've been swimming practically every day, and I swam twice yesterday at time of recording because I knew I'm far better for other people if I'm at my best, if I'm peaceful, if I'm calm. And to be honest, the second heated pool swim was on the way back from the hospital because I didn't know how I was going to have the energy to stand up in the shower at home. Whereas the idea of going for a heated pool swim and then sitting in the steam room and then having a luxurious, like the shower there is nicer than my shower at home. So it's like, okay, I'll do that. And then like just 5, 10 minutes of swimming, really lovely. That's me. Think about for yourself. Think about like what is your, I'm thinking my daily yoga nidras, they're essential for me. I'm about to start ADHD medication, but I've been using the daily yoga nidras now for I think more than 2 years. And it's really essential. But today it's like so much to do. I'm not going to have time for one of the longer ones that I've got accustomed to. So I did a shorter one and it was amazing. And it's like so often we think, oh, but if I can't do the full practice, the full thing, what's the point? Doing one or two yoga poses, that's enough. It's not ideal, but it's enough. Deleting everything that's not essential from my diary for the next few days. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to really be present with sessions and I've not had to cancel any clients. But there are other things like some of the writing work that I'm doing, it just has to wait. My brain isn't there right now. So thinking about your own workload, how can you have enough flexibility where possible, where you can just take pressure off yourself and delete, delete, delete. Think for yourself in terms of what helps you in terms of your own regular self-care practices and how you might pare them down in an emergency. Then thinking about the love part where it's about acceptance and it's about self-talk and allowing yourself to just be and allowing yourself to pull a duvet over your head, which of course is less possible often in case of emergency, but it's not impossible. You might feel that it's impossible. You might feel that you just don't have the time. But if you honor your nervous system and if you give yourself a break, for me, it is, I know I always go on about water, but sitting underwater is like an emotional duvet for me, just like ah, and obviously I'm not breathing underwater, but thinking like just getting those stress hormones out of the body. But for you, let yourself be still if possible. Let yourself cry. Let yourself have the big feelings. Let yourself be messy. Let yourself be the human that you are. And the more you give yourself grace, the more you're able to talk with kindness and love and compassion to yourself, the more your loved ones will benefit as well, the more the people around you, rather than you being under so much pressure that you're potentially a bit of a nightmare to be around, which I know I would be if I didn't actively do all these things on a daily basis, even when they're pared down. So difficult conversations as well, letting yourself be a human. Moving into the heal practice, it might be that the most you can think about in terms of post-traumatic growth or using that heightened care for social justice that you might have with ADHD. It might be for your nearest and dearest, or it might be even thinking for the future at some point when you've processed what it is that you're dealing with. For some people, it can be really beneficial. I know for me, it's really beneficial to think, even like kind of, it might sound a bit morbid, but thinking at a certain point in the future, I might do more grief work. I might do more to support, like, kind of, there's so much that I love the trauma work, I love the ADHD work. But at a certain point, maybe like that just sounds really morbid, but being there for loved ones, helping me think beyond me, helping me think beyond the person involved. It's I'm not putting pressure on myself. Like everyone's like, good God to yourself. But I already do. I know that I have to. I know that my brain won't let me, my heart won't let me, my body won't let me if I don't. I mean, I've been working in self-care for 20 plus years. But thinking if it helps motivate you to take better care of yourself, think about how whatever the emergency you're facing might potentially, I'm being so careful here because the last thing I want to do is put anyone under additional pressure when you're already in a crisis situation. But for some people, myself included, it can be motivational and empowering to think at some point, it's like Nora Ephron used to say, everything is copy. She wrote When Harry Met Sally and like a gazillion other things, but her parents were screenwriters. She was a writer, and the idea of turning that pain into words, it just helps us move through it. It helps us process. So thinking in your own life, whether like don't think too hard, just be open to the possibility that at a deeper level, at some point, what you're navigating now can potentially help others. But let yourself be, love where you are, like kind of give yourself all the love, all the compassion, and do all the things that help you in the meantime. So for the Soul to Soul Circle members this week, there's going to be a shorter emergency yoga nidra for those times where you think, I just don't have time, but I need something. So a very short one, but it will help you keep your word to yourself in terms of taking that care of your whole self. And thank you for listening or watching. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, commenting, engaging. I love your emails. I love hearing from you. And I would love to encourage you to ground this episode by thinking of World Emoji Day and thinking about what you've identified as you've been listening in terms of the self-care practices that support you, the soothing self-talk and the self-acceptance and self-love, and the allowing yourself to be with all the emotions, messy, angry, all of it, and also the heal element where the potential for post-traumatic growth, the potential for helping others, your loved ones, your family, your community, potentially the world at large. So just let yourself choose some emojis, make it fun, get past the conscious mind a little bit, and give yourself a code in case you forget what they are. But I would love if you want to share your emojis self-care plan. So maybe one, if you want to narrow it down, you can have as many as you want, but maybe choose one for the feel, so where it's the active self-care, one for the love, where it's you giving yourself grace, you're talking kindly to yourself, you're allowing yourself to just be and have the big emotions or be numb or whatever it is you need to be. And the heal, when you imagine the future, have a bit of fun with it if you have the chance, and let me know how you get on. Thank you for listening to the Feel Better Everyday podcast. If you'd like more, you can join the Soul to Soul Circle in order to access a rich archive of exclusive content, including deeper dives into every episode and also the entire Love Your Whole Self chakra journey. And you might also enjoy the book 365 Ways to Feel Better, Self-Care Ideas for Embodied Wellbeing. You can get more information. You can access loads of many libraries of free resources and much more at selfcarecoaching.net. And you can also connect with me and let me know how you're getting on. So have a gorgeous week, and I look forward to sharing more soon. And this episode was produced by me, your host, Eve Menezes Cunningham.